Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends over at Yarnspirations.com. Today we're going to do the Trisha Tree skirt, and this is actually featuring Patons classic wool worsted, but we're going to be switching our yarns today in order to match our crochet along, and we're going to be suggesting carrying 1 pound or equivalent yarn that you can find. I'm also going to stick with the same size crochet hook of 5mm as it states. That's a size H if you're in the US. So what we have today is that this here is made up of different motifs. They are not square. You may think that they are, but they're not. And here is all the color breakdowns if you'd like to be very strategic. Mine is completely random, and I used yarn left over from my boho ornamental afghan, and you can use leftover yarns for this as well. It's very homey when it's done. So let's take a look closer at this pattern and let's decipher it together. On page number 3 of the instructions, you can see how these are working together, all 12 motifs. There's a split right down this, the middle here, so that it's completely, you can just wrap it around your tree without having to take your tree down. So you can just see there's a buttons that are there. I'm kind of lazy. I wouldn't put buttons on mine just because I'm lazy, but you can put buttons in order to secure that if you wish, if you got pets or kids that are going underneath your tree. So there's a total of 12 of these motifs going around. You're going to get those done and put them together, sew them together with an invisible join that I'll show you, and then we're going to come back then in the second clue and fill in this space in the middle in order to fill it back out to the trunk of the tree. So we have 2 sets of diagrams that are available to you. We have this one here. This does not look like it's perspective. This is because the stitches are different. In order to get this to join together to be a round circle, they're done up on a slight angle, and when you get 12 they form the circle. Then this diagram here is the remaining of filling in the shapes as you go in order to get that done. Let's take a closer look at the actual a sample of one of the motifs, and then I'm gonna have a breakdown for you that I think is easy for you to understand too. So here's an example of one of the motifs, and I'm going to be crocheting the last one, number 12, with you on camera, and then what you need to do is just sew these together on the side. So I got some suggestions for changes of this particular pattern, and one of the changes I'm going to suggest to you, do you see how it naturally rounds off right here? I'm going to suggest to you, when you go to sew these together, to stop right here on this chain 1 space when you go to join them together. When you do that, it causes it to nicely come out on the end. I actually went and I took it all apart because I went right to the edge like so, and when I went right to the edge, watch what happens. It folds up. So this is probably because it's carrying 1 pound yarn. So what I'm suggesting to you, there's a few changes that I'm gonna make to you today. So one of them, I would sew only to the spot and let it kind of like pedal out, and then the other one I would do is chain 3 right on the very corner here. This is the last time around, and when you chain 3 it just causes it to relax even more. So that's 2 of the changes. The third change is actually in the final border that goes all the way around, and we'll cover that when we get there. Let's take a look at the diagrams and let's show you how easy it is to follow those. So I blew up the diagram, that's why it's kind of granular, so just making sure that you understand that is a perspective here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to start off, and every time we come down either side, it's an easy thing to remember. So you're going to start off normally as the first 2 rounds of a typical granny square, and then in the 3rd round what's going to happen is that when we start up here, there's going to be half double crochets, and then what I decided to do is I highlighted the half double crochets that you can see how there's consistency in growth. And so then you have double crochet, then you got double crochets, and then treble crochets. And so I highlighted those as I went. So if you can remember the order of those, they're a lot easier to do these particular squares. At the base of these ones here, there's always going to be trebles when you get past on round number 3. So there'll always be trebles. So this side is growing out faster than this side because that's half double crochets. So think about it as a mirror. So what happens on this side happens on the other. So let's just say, for example, we on round 3 we know that we started with the half double crochets right here in the corner, then we went to doubles and then trebles. When we come to the other side, we know that there's trebles and then doubles and then half. And if you can remember the stitch counts as far as like how many groups that you need to do, so on round number 4 you can see that you have 2 groups of halves, 1 double, 1 treble, and when you come to the other side you got 1 treble, 1 double, and 2 halves. If that's easier for you to remember, that's how I did it. I also marked up this diagram for sewing, so I only sewed until the chain 1 space right here on both sides as they join. Remember that you're not going to join everything together. You're going to leave one particular one open, so that's the open slit of your skirt. I also told you that I made a change. On the final round we're going to chain 3 instead of 2, and this will open it up even further for your convenience. So without further ado, we're gonna start off in round number 1, go all the way to round number 8 here on camera. I'm going to show you how to do the invisible join, and then that'll be it for today. So let's get started. So let's begin. We're going to create a slip knot. This is an intermediate level because of the complexity of the granny square being kind of in perspective. It's not just straight up regular granny square. So we're gonna chain up 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I want you to insert the hook into the beginning chain and then yarning over, pulling it through and through to form the center ring. So keep this color, and we're now going to progress into round number 1. So we're going to start off with it, and we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. That counts as a double crochet. And in the same center join, just put the straggler around the outside so it catches it. Put in 2 more double crochets into the ring. So we have 1 and 2. Then we're gonna turn a corner. So all corners on this except for the very final where I showed you that they're gonna chain 3 is always gonna be chain 2. Now you come back into the ring, put 3 more double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Then turn the corner again, so chain 2 and put in 3 more double crochets into the ring. So 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2 and do the final side. So there's gonna be 3 double crochets again. So 1, 2, and make room if you don't have enough room, so just pull it, and 3. And to finish off this round, chain 2 and slip stitch to the top of the first chain 3, and then you're done this color. So what you can do with this particular project is that you don't have to use a tapestry needle too often, only when you're sewing them together, but just wrap it around and pull through, and I want you to weave it through this stitch work here and get that really stuck into position. So then when you go over this corner, you'll be able to get it stuck in there again. Let's move along to round number 2. Let's get our next color. Create a slip knot first. It'll get stuck better. And you are going to go into the first, so this is where we stopped last time, so we're gonna go right here into this corner. You can choose pretty much any corner, but that's what it's suggesting. So you're gonna pull through with the slip stitch and then chain 3, and then what you want to do is that you want to put in 2 more double crochets there. So rounds 1 and 2 are typical for granny square. There's nothing special about those. Once you get your 3 in there, so the chain 3 plus the 2 counts as 3, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets into the same corner. Noticing that I'm going right up over top of the straggler. You chain 1 in between any of the groups that you will have all throughout this whole project. Then move to the next one, happens to be a corner, so there will always be 3 double crochets, 2 chain, 3 double crochet. So what I want you to do is I want you to do that for the remaining of this round, and then just make sure that you chain 1 in between the groups. Okay, so in the corners it would always be 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, then chain 1 to jump to the next group, which happens to be a corner, and do the same thing. Please do that same thing all the way around for round number 2. Once you get the last one in there, make sure you chain 1 before joining it to the top of the first. Chain 3, and then I want you to finish off this yarn, weave in your ends kind of how I showed you already, and let's get ready for round number 3. So let me give you a piece of advice before we really get started. So my point being for speed is all about assembly line. So a card gets made faster when multiple people are involved and it works its way down the line. What I'd recommend to you is do each one of these sections like an assembly line. So go and do all 12 of the middles, and then when you go and get that done, then do the second round for all of the 12, and then get that done, and then keep on moving. The reason for it is that you have a set of instructions. It's easier to remember when you're working like that than it is to go and do one of these, because you'll be constantly looking at the sheet if you go constantly from the middle to the end and then having to keep repeating. So if you go section by section within each of the motifs, it's easier and faster. So let's review round number 3. We're going to start off right in the corner. So you see how we're always moving in this corner now, and what we're going to do is chain 2 counts as a half double crochet, and then we're going to half double crochet that complete corner. The next group after you chain 1 will be double crochets, chain 1, and then this corner will always be then trebles. Then so 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles. These will always be treble down, and then you're coming back around and you're gonna do opposite. So these will be trebles because they match. This one here will be double, and then a half will match all the way around. So please do that for round number 3. Let's begin. So let's begin round number 3. Going to create a slip knot to begin. Technically I'd be weaving in my tails as it's going. I'm just a little lazy today. Well, I haven't done it yet. So I want to start off in the corner, and I'm just gonna pull through, and then we're gonna chain 2, counts as a half double crochet, and 2 more half double crochets in the same corner. So 1 and 2. Then we're gonna turn the corner, so chain 2, and then put 3 more half double crochets in the same corner. So 3 halves. Like that. So now we're gonna move our way down. So chain up 1. The next one will be a set of doubles. So there'd be 3 doubles. So 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, and then you're at the next corner. So these ones are gonna be trebles. So you wrap the hook twice and put in 3 trebles first. Then chain 2, and then 3 more trebles. Okay, so I'm gonna explain the remaining of this round. So make sure you chain 1 after. So the base of this side here will be 3 trebles, chain 1. The next corner is the exact same, so think of it like a mirror. So these will be 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. The next one will be a double because it matches, and then the final corner will be 3 halves, 2 chain, 3 halves, and then chain 1, and then 3 halves here, and then join. So please do that the remaining for round number 3. So I just completed exactly what I shared with you. So you're gonna start seeing now it coming out. This side will be bulging a little bit more. You got your halves on this side, chain 1, and then join it to the top of the first, chain 2, and get rid of this yarn, and let's move on to round number 4. Okay, are you getting scared yet? Hope not. We're now moving on to round number 4. So what we have is that we're gonna start off in the corner. It'll be half double crochets like you did before, and then there will be another group of half double crochets, then a double, and then you're in the next corner. So you'll have your trebles then around here, and then coming back the other side there's 1 set of doubles, and then a half, and then you end up with your corner again, and then your halves across the top. Let's try number 4. So let's try number 4, just starting off with a slip knot, and let's go right in the corner. So we're gonna start off chain 2, slip stitch first to join, chain 2, and then 2 more halves in there. So then that chain 2 plus these 2 halves give you your 3 that you need. Chain 2 to turn, and then 3 more halves into that same one. You'll notice that I got rid of my tails between the last take and this take, so that's good. So chain 1 to jump. So the next one is going to be a half. So a group of halves, so 3 halves. And then we're gonna get slightly bigger, so chain up 1. The next group is doubles. So 3 doubles. Just assume when I say doubles there's a set of 3. And then we jump, chain 1, and now we're into the corner, so those will be trebles. So those will be 3 treble, chain 2, 3 treble. So this causes it to outgrow itself. Just as a kind of a meaningless thought. So I actually crocheted this twice, and I crocheted all 11 because I was gonna do 12 on camera, and because I'd blown up the sheet and I wasn't wearing my good glasses, I actually did this whole bottom section as doubles instead of trebles, and then I realized it wasn't making any sense in the end after I finished. So here's what we have. So you're going to then just come across the bottoms with trebles, then you'll put your corners in there, 3 treble, chain 2, 3 treble, and then do what is opposite. So you got a double, and then you'll have a half. You got your half corners, so your 3 halves, 2 chain, 3 halves, and then coming along here with just half double crochets. Please do that for the remaining of round number 4. So I'm coming up to the end of round number 4, chain 1 and slip stitch to the beginning, chain 2. So you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 is done, and you can see it's starting to bulge even more at the base, and we're going to get rid of this yarn and let's move on to round number 5 together. So here we go for round number 5. We're gonna start off in the same. We're gonna put our half corners, so like we did before. The next one will be half like it was before, and this time there will be 2 groups of double crochets in a row, and then you hit this corner. You go across with your trebles, and then again opposite subtract, right? So it's just the other side. There will be 2 groups of doubles, 2 groups of halves that you have here, which is part of your corner over here, and then you move on to your halves then on the outside. So let's begin round number 5. So round number 5 we're gonna just start off with a slip knot. I'll take you down the one side. So joining in the corner, just slip stitch it to fasten on, and chain 2 counts as a half, and then 2 more halves in there. So by this time you should be an expert of your corners here at the starting. Chain 2 and then 3 halves. So let's review on going down on round 5. Chain 1 to jump. So the first 2 in a row will be, or sorry, for the next one will be a half double crochet. Okay, and chain 1, and then the next 2 that you have will each be doubles. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and then the next one is also doubles. And then you're gonna hit your corner. So chain 1, so the corners will be the same, will be your trebles. Continue to treble around the other side. This side you'll do your trebles in the corner. Your first 2 groups here will be a double, and then this will be a half, and then your corner will be half, chain 2 halves, and then your half along the base. This is for number 5. Please continue the same pattern going all the way around. Coming up to the end of round number 5, just chain 1 and then just slip stitch it to the first top of the chain 2. So that's it for number 5. Get rid of this yarn and you can really start seeing it working out now. Let's begin round number 6. So let's begin round number 6. We're going to start off in the same corner, still do your halves. The next one is still a half double crochet. The next 2 in a row are then doubles. The next one is then treble by itself, as you see, and then you hit your corners. So then you're coming across, and then once you finish your final corner, the next group is a treble, 2 doubles, and then you have a half by itself, and then your final corner of half, chain 2 halves, and then you half then across. Let's begin round number 6. Okay, let's begin round number 6. Coming into the corner, just attach like you always have been, chain 2 and 2 more halves. So 1, 2, chain 2 and 3 halves. Just as a point of reference, when I say halves it means half double crochet. I do have some crocheters that prefer that I don't use that. I use the full name, but when you're doing the same kind of stuff all the time it's just easier to say it simpler. So chain 1, and the next one will be a group of halves, half double crochet. Okay, chain 1, and then the next one is going to be doubles. So the next 2 in a row are doubles. Chain 1 after those, don't forget, and then another group of doubles. Chain 1. Okay, we still have a corner over here, but the one in between is a group of trebles. I've never ever seen a granny square do this before until I saw this pattern. It's kind of neat. So chain up 1 and then you hit your corners as you normally do it. You're gonna treble along the base, and then when you come back the other side, the first one is gonna be treble, the next 2 will be doubles, and then you'll end up with a half, and then you'll hit your corner with the halves as you know it, and then half across the top. Please do this for round number 6. Finishing up round number 6, chain 1 and then just join to the beginning, chain 2. Get rid of this yarn and let's move on then to round number 7. We're almost done. Let's continue to 7. Okay, we're now on to round number 7. You're just gonna grab another color, start off in the corner, and then again you got one group of half by itself. You then have 3 groups of doubles, and then one group of trebles, and then your corner. So you're gonna treble along here, one group of trebles, 3 groups of halves, three groups of doubles, and then one group of halves, and then your corners, and then coming back. So this is number 7. Again, really quite straightforward to follow. Let's begin round number 7. I'm being transparent. This is very random, my whole project is, so I'm going to introduce this blue back in. It's not planned, it's just was easier to my hands. So we're just going to join it, chain 2 counts as a half, and then put in 2 more halves, chain 2, and 3 halves to finish this corner. Okay, so let's work our way down the side. So chain up 1. The first one is a group of halves. Okay, chain 1. The next 3 in a row will each be groups of doubles. So 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 and do another one. Okay, chain 1 and do another one. Chain 1. So the next one is then treble. It's a group of trebles. And then chain 1. So the remaining then is your corner will each be, and these will all be trebles. Coming back down the other side, you'll have one group of trebles, 3 in a row for doubles, 1 half, then you have your half corner, and then you're going to do your halves along the base here. So let's get round number 7 done, and then round number 8 is your final. So I'm coming up all the way back around and just chaining 1, join. So now we're gonna move on to round number 8. Remember that I have a small alteration that is in there, and I decided to make my round number 8 the same color for all of them. That's completely up to you. So let's move on there. So in round number 8 I decided to make them all white as the final border, and I just felt that it was working better for me. So in the original sample it doesn't have all the outside of the of round 8 being the same color. So that's completely your call to your creativity. You can decide to do whatever you want. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start off down the side. Just remember that there's an alteration right here at the bottoms. I want you to chain 3 instead of 2. This will open it up a little bit more and have it sit flatter, easier for you, especially because if you're switching your yarn. You're gonna start off as regular for half double crochets, or sorry, as single crochets starting off, and then we're gonna do 2 halves in a row, 2 doubles in a row, 2 trebles in a row, and then your corners coming across, 2 trebles, 2 doubles, 2 halves, and then your final corner is 3 singles, chain 2, 3 singles, and singles with in the groups then all the way on the other side. Let's begin the final round, number 8. Let's begin round number 8. I know white might be hard to see because I have a white background, but it is what it is. So we're gonna go into the first corner, to attach it like you normally have been, slip stitch. Just chain 1 only this time, and I want you to put in 3 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2 to turn, and then in the same corner I want you to put in 3 single crochets again. So 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1. So let's work our way down the first side. So the first one is going to be a group of halves. Then chain 1. The next group is the halves. So there's 2 groups of halves in a row. Chain 1. The next 2 groups in a row will be each doubles. And then the next 2 groups after this will be trebles. Not a lot of people love trebles, but in this case it's totally required. So then there's 2 groups of trebles here at the end. And then we're gonna hit our bottom corner. Okay, so chain 1. So okay, so you're gonna have your corners as you normally do. Let me just verify that you do that change. So we're gonna start our first side of the corner. So 3 trebles first. I originally had it chaining 2 following the instruction, but because I substituted the yarn, it doesn't want it to sit down on its own. So chain 3 this time, and then coming in to the same one and put in 3 more trebles. So on these bottom corners put in chain 3s at the end or in the middle of the corners, so it'll sit better for you. So you can actually sit it down. See how it sits flat? With chaining a 2, then it starts to really pull. So then you continue along the base here. So you're gonna do your trebles across, then in your corner your trebles and chain 3 trebles, and then your first 2 are trebles, the next 2 are doubles, the next 2 are halves, and then you'll end up with your 3 singles, and then chain 2, 3 singles, and then you put your single crochets in the base here with chain 1s that separate them. So please do your final round and we'll meet you back here in just a moment. So I'm just coming up all the way around, chain 1 and slip stitch to the beginning single crochet. So if it's starting to buckle up on you, don't worry about it yet. You have to pull on it a little bit. And also I told you that I changed the outside perimeter. I haven't shared that information with you yet. We'll cover that in the next video. And what we're going to do is that's gonna force if it's sitting up a little bit to totally sit on down. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to cover you then. So just give it a pull. Just give it a stretch. Let me just zoom out a little bit and just give it a good, see? It's awesome. See? Sitting flat. It's awesome. So what we want to do is that we want to join it to the neighbor. So let's bring back our sheet, and then we're going to I'm gonna show you how to do the invisible join so it looks pretty seamless. So this is what the skirt looks like without the tree in the middle, of course. So what we're going to have you do is join your 12 motifs together, but you're gonna leave one join completely open so that it's here and you will see that there's buttons. So when I go to look at it from my perspective on my homework, we're just going to attach. So what I told you is that we're going to change exactly where we're gonna do the sew. So you'll notice that the original here doesn't really have that jetting out so much, but what I found with myself using Caron 1 pound that it can fold up on you. So what I decided to do is only sew during a portion of it. So if I look at the other sheet, I'm going to go to this chain 1 space right here, and I'm only gonna sew this layer, leaving the corner completely exposed. This will create a nice petaling effect. I'm also then change the outside perimeter here that there's a slightly different stitch count to get it to also wanting to sit down flat. So it's, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do in life, right? So what we want to do is that we want to put these together as a nice seamless join. It's not raised at all, and then when you look at it from a perspective it looks like it totally belongs, because it does. So let's show you how to do the invisible join. So grabbing a yarn that you would like to join, I'm gonna use white so it's totally invisible when I go to do it, meaning that it will be totally hidden. And what I want to do is create a slip knot on the one side, but leave a long enough tail so that I can throw that through a tapestry needle at the end. Take the other side and throw it into the tapestry needle itself. So what I want to do is that I want to join these two, and I've already shown you and talked about it a few times. I'm only gonna go to this chain 1 space. It's just before this corner starts, and so this is from here to here is where it's gonna join, and then these will be exposed, leaving a petal shape. But I'm gonna start on the other side. So we're gonna start right in the chain 2 space at the corner and go right into the other chain 2 space and just pull through, but don't pull all the way through. Put this slip knot onto the needle and pull it, and it will trap it into position, and I want you to lay down that straggler on top. So you're gonna advance to the next stitch. In this first one, go to the back stitch only, noticing that I'm keeping that on top, and then on this one here I'm going to the second one, so it's just the back stitch on this one. So if you're doing that, it creates an invisible join, and I'm just gonna pull, and it's gonna trap this starting strand into position as well. So then I advance to the next stitch. So back stitch, or the back loop on this one, and then the back loop on this one, just directly across. Did I tell you it's called a whip stitch? If I didn't, that's what it is. So then advance to the next stitch and next stitch. And then what you want to do is that you are going to then go to this is a chain 1 space, but I still want you to go into a chain. I don't want you to go into the space, and I want you to go into the back into that chain as well, into this, to the back one only. So keep that being very consistent. Okay, so what I want you to do, maintain your stitch work all the way down, just keep matching it to each other. It gets easier as you do more of these, you get used to it, and I want you to stop on this last space before the corners start. Please do that now. I'll see you at the end of this. So I'm just coming to the end of where I need to be. So I'm gonna go right into this chain one space stitch. So chain one and then the other side, and then that's it. So watch what I do. I'm going to just take the hook, or sorry, the needle, and just jump down, okay, to the other side and turn it over. Jump down. Okay, so once we're on the back, what I want you to do is just weave this yarn strand in a total of 3 times. So back once, go a slightly different path in the other direction twice, and then in the other direction 3rd time is a charm. So catching it in 3 times makes it almost impossible to fall out. And then what I want you to do with the other starting strand, I told you to leave it a little bit long. We were burying it as we were going because we left it on top, and then I want you to take that remaining one and just go back in the direction you just came. And then you can get rid of that right into the project. So what I want you to do is that I want you to attach all your squares together and or all your motifs together, and then when you come back, then we're going to begin starting the inside to be able to fill this in, and we'll also do the outside border as well in that time. So at this particular moment you will have what will be the final of all the 12 motifs. There will be one that's not sewn here so that it's open. We're gonna do a final border today. I'm gonna have a slight change for you here. Yours may not be sitting down completely at this time, but my point being is the last round, because I have an alteration, it should sit down finally if it's not already. What we're going to concentrate on today is getting from the interior and making our way closer to the middle as we go to the stem of the trunk, and then we're gonna come back later and then just do a perimeter around this whole thing. So without further ado, let's take a look at the diagram that's available to you, and it's very strategic, and we're gonna be counting stitches and being able to have a lot of fun today. So on page number 3 is the diagram, and this is what it's gonna look like. So in gray here, these are the motifs that already exist, and we're gonna start on row number 1 and work our way across. It's very strategic and counting on how things come together, and it's actually not hard, and if you understand how to do it, of course. So without further ado, what we're going to do is that I'm gonna take a blown up copy, and then we're gonna work our way through rows number 1 through 14, getting ourselves all the way around. Once I get you started, you're going to see how things are kind of related to each other, and we're first of all we have to get ourselves all the way around to get ourselves established. Let's take a look at the blown up copy now. So on page number 3, this is a copy of what it looks like. There is a crochet key as well as far as what all the symbols mean, and you will have access to that. So we're gonna start off right in the very edge. So these 2 pieces here are not joined. See how there's a dotted line there? That's telling you that the invisible join is there. So we're gonna start right in an open space, and we're gonna start right on the right side, so with it facing up. So what we're going to then be doing from this particular moment is that we are just gonna get ourselves established, but look where we're gonna go the first time is that we are going to do these cluster work right as in the join itself, so right in the spaces as we go. So it's telling you and showing you that it will repeat again. So you're basically filling in spots with double crochets, and you'll notice that there is no chain ones anymore as we begin to do that, except for in certain strategic areas, but basically between these ones that you have, there is none. So we're going to begin to start on round number 1. Again, my coloring is completely just random, and you can decide what's right for you. So let's begin row number 1. So let's get ourselves started with our first color. You can go any color you wish. I'm gonna just go for yellow because it's most convenient for me. So what I'm gonna do is go right into the chain 2 space. Okay, this side is not joined to anything, so it's the open one. It's also the right side facing up, so it's the good side facing up. And we are just gonna join with a slip stitch like so, and then we're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that will count as a double crochet and chain 1 space. You're now gonna jump to the next space right here, and you are going to put in groups of 3 double crochets. So all the groups are pretty much 3 double crochets, except for when we're going to be in between the motifs, and we're going to start decreasing it in order to keep that round circle moving. So we're not going to chain 1 at all in between these groups. Just continue to put 3 double crochets in each of the spaces up until you get to the joining of the 2, and then I'm going to then get you to do the rest of the perimeter or around, as far as getting it all the way back to the other side. So I'll see you at the join next. So I'm coming into the space just before I get to where the motifs join, and you're gonna do this every time when you're getting in between the motifs. So what you're going to do is chain 1 first, and you're going to put the chain 2 spaces together as a cluster. Watch how you do that. So you're gonna wrap the hook, and then you're gonna go into the first chain 2 space, pull through 2 and hold it, wrap again, going into the same one, pull through 2 and hold it, but you're not done. You're gonna come to the other chain 2 space on the next motif, wrap and into the next one, pull through 2 and hold, and then do that again. So wrap, and then in the next one pull through 2 and hold. You now have 5 loops on your hook. Wrap and pull through all 5, and then chain 1, and then begin going to the next space and begin your 3 double crochets again. So the only time you're going to chain 1 this whole thing is when you're joining the 2 motifs with these clusters that you see. So you just continue to move across and then fill in your spacing, the chain 2 spacings of the corners of the motifs as you hit them. So please do that for the remaining of this row. So I'm coming to the end of row number 1. Now interestingly enough, this whole project, when we get here, it's like candid camera, how you have to move the typewriter back and it falls off the falls off the desk. When we get to the end of this, we go right back to the very beginning and start again and going in the same direction. So we do that for all of the rows. We're always starting in the same side. So I'm just filling in the spaces as we know it, and I'm going to join you at the beginning of each row and the ending of each row, and you fasten off at the end of this row as well. So I got the last space filled in, but you're not quite done. So what you just need to do is go to the last chain 2 space and fill it in with the double crochet, and now you're done. So just weave in your ends, just fasten off, and then what we want to do is go back to the very beginning of this where we started again, and just start then row number 2, and I'm gonna weave that in better later. So we just go back to all the way to where we had started, and keeping on the right hand side, we want to begin all over again. Let's begin row number 2. We're going to start where we started the yellow before, and we're going to stay on the right hand side and continue. So we're going to go right into this chain space here, the chain 1 space. I'd go right into the chain 1 itself. So it was 3 chains, and then there was the 4th one, which is the chain 1 at the top. So go right into the chain itself to join, and then that will help it stay stabilized as well. And you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then in the same space then apply 2 more double crochets. So that helps to keep it more anchored. Now what you're going to do is that this one is a very quick and easy row. As we progress more and more, less spaces become available, so it gets faster and faster. It's like corner to corner. You're already at the big side, working your way narrow. So just jump to each space and put in 3 double crochets all the way across, so there's no reduction of stitches required for this particular row. And then once you get to the area where you joined your motifs, how you did these clusters, you just simply use the spacing that's on either side. So just one grouping of 3 double crochets in each one. Remember, there's no chain 1s in this particular part of the project at this point. So just keep doing that all the way across. Let's see at the end of this row number 2. I'm coming up to the end of round number 2, or row number 2, sorry, and I want to make sure that I get all my stitches in. And remember that there is going to be a standalone double crochet that's here. So you're just gonna go right into the space and apply 3 double crochets in there, and then that's it. So then you're just gonna fasten off and then go back to the beginning on the other side again, and then meet me back there and where you're going to start row number 3. So let's begin row number 3. We're going to start off in the top of the first double crochet that's there, or the first chain, and add another chain 3, and we're going to put 6 standalone groups of double crochet together in a row, and then the next two spaces become this cluster like we did down here. So these next two spaces come together. Don't forget the chain one in between the clusters, and then you do another 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then another cluster, and you keep doing that all the way across for row number 3. Let's begin. Okay, let's begin row number 3. Just creating a slip knot to begin, and go in the top of the first chain 3 right there, and join it with a slip stitch, and then chain another 3. So 1 2 3. We're now gonna go to the next chain space, or sorry, the next space here, and we're going to apply 3 double crochets in the space. So for this one plus the next 5, so there's a total of 3 groups of double crochet in a row. Then you then do the decrease. So let's just do these 6. So that's one group, there's 2, this is 3, that's 4, okay, 5, and 6. So 6 double crochet groups before you do the cluster to bring 2 together. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now the next 2 spaces are gonna come together with the cluster. So you're gonna chain 1 first and wrap the hook, and going into the next space, pull through 2 and hold, wrap the hook again, same space, pull through 2 and hold. Okay, come to the next space, so wrap, next space, pull through 2 and hold, wrap, next space, pull through 2 and hold. You have your 5 loops back on your hook, pull through all 5, then chain 1, and then begin again. So the next 6 in a row will be like this, and then the next 2 then will come together with these clusters. Please do that all the way across for row number 3. Coming up to the end of row number 3, so I got my my clusters in here. So there's 1 2 3 4 5 6, and I'm not quite done yet, so I gotta do the 7th space in there. Okay, so there's no clustering at the end of row number 3. Once you get that one done, then just double crochet into the top of the final stitch, and then you're good to go. So what we're now going to do is just fasten off and then go to the beginning of row number 4 on the other side of the project. Let's go back there now, and let's begin to decide what we're gonna do next. Number 4. So let's begin row number 4. We're going to start at the top of the other chain here and just put our 3 stitches in there. So chain 3 counts as 1, and the 2 you got your 3, and all you're just going to do then in this particular row is put 3 double crochets in each one of the spaces all the way around. That includes the ones that are on the opposite sides of these clusters that you did. Nice simple row number 4. Let's begin number 4, just grabbing a random color, and I'm just gonna go in the top of the first chain 3 that you had started with before, and I'm just gonna slip stitch it. So just slip it, and then chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and in this one just go in this gapping space and put 2 more double crochets in. Now this one, row number 4, is just easy. Just go into each one of these spaces. Okay, that includes on the opposite sides of the cluster. So one, and just put in your groups of 3 double crochets all the way across. That is number 4. I'll see you at the end of number 4. I'm coming up to the end of row number 4 and just finishing it off. Row number 5 is actually pretty easy coming ahead too. So I'm just going right into the final spaces that you can see. Okay, and then you're going to come into the final space that you have over here and put in 3 double crochets. Now you're just gonna finish that off, and we're going to progress to row number 5. 5 is an easy one. We just gotta watch the way that we start and the way that we end the row. So everything else in between is exactly what you just did here. So let's go back, restart ourselves on the other side, and go to number 5. So number 5, we're going to chain 4 right from the start, and then we're going to put the next 2 spaces together with the cluster, and then everything else is just like you just did in row number 4. And then finally when we come back around the last two spaces that are available will become the cluster, and then you'll just put in a double crochet right in the end. So 5 is pretty easy too. So let's begin number 5. Okay, let's begin row number 5. We're just gonna start off with the slip knot as always. We're gonna come in the top of the first chain 3 and you're gonna slip stitch. We're now gonna chain a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we're going to come to the next space, and that space and the next one after it will become together. So just wrapping and do your cluster. Okay, and then come to the next one and do the same thing, and then you want to pull through all 5 loops, pull together, and then chain 1. So all the remaining except for the very final 2 on the other side of this will just be what you already know. So just jump over and fill all the spaces in with 3 double crochet groups all the way. I'll see you at the end of this row and we will do that cluster thing once again at the end. So I'm coming across on row number 5 and I'm being very conscious to look for the last 2 spaces. So these 2 is what I'm going to be going for, and I'm gonna make sure that I put them together as a cluster. So that it was a nice easy row to go. So I think they have you doing this in the skirt so that I can have time to relax the stitches, and that's pretty neat. So the next 2, the final 2 spaces are gonna become together. So you're gonna put those together as a cluster. Come to the next one. Pull through all 5 loops, chain 1, and then you're gonna do 1 double crochet in the top of the last double crochet that's there. You're gonna fasten off, and we're gonna go back to the beginning again, the other side, and start row number 6 together. So in row number 6 we're going to start up on the top of the first in the chain 3 there. There's 4 there. Go to the third one. We're gonna start, and then the next 5 in a row are each the regular double crochets, and then the next 2 spaces are gonna become a cluster. So remember how last time there was 6 down here, this time there's only gonna be 5. So there'll be 5 double crochet sections, and then it will be a cluster. So 5 and then cluster and etc. So let's do row number 6. Let's begin row number 6. We're going to join to the third one up of that chaining of 4. Okay, so just count 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's a chain 1 space and then the cluster. So we're going to start there, just join with the slip stitch, and then chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and you're going to double crochet into the space itself 2 more times. So by going to the third chain, let me just restart that one. Just by going to the third chain it helps anchor it better. So we're just gonna add our 2 double crochets to give us a total of 3. So now the next 5 are going to be by themselves. So they're just a double crochet. They are in the groups of double crochet. So let's count those out together. So this will be 1. This is 2. It's 3. It's 4. And 5. So 5 groups of double crochet in a row, and then we're gonna cluster the next 2 spaces. So just chain 1 first, going to the next space and do your cluster work, jump to the next space, pull through all 5 loops, chain 1, and then begin again. So the next 5 in a row are the groups of double crochet and then cluster after that. Please do that all the way across. You're probably noticing that you're getting faster because you are eliminating out stitches, as you can see. Let's begin to continue the rest of row number 6. I'm coming up to the end of round number 6, and I just left my last cluster there behind us, and there is no more between now and the end. Okay, I'm almost done this side, so just in case you need orientation of where I am. The next round I did look ahead. We're just going on either side of these clusters that you see. And the next round at number 7 is really quite easy. So go into the last space that's available to you, put in your 3 double crochets, and then that's it. So just fasten off, get rid of this yarn and let's go back to the beginning of the other side and start round number 7. Let's begin round number 7. It's a simple round. It's just like it was before. So chain up 3 and then it's just gonna be putting in 3 double crochets into each of the spaces all the way around. There's no decreasing with clusters in this one. It's just all the way around as what you've done before. This is number 7. Let's begin round number 7 and I'm just being random. I've already used purple. I've already used most of my colors already, if not all. And I'm just going to join to the top of the first chain 3. And slip stitch it and then chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and then you're just gonna come to the next space that's available to you and you're going to place in your 3 double crochets. So 1, 2 and 3, and you're just simply just gonna put in 3 double crochets in each of the spaces. See, this cluster is just 1 on each side, so please do that all the way around. Please do that all the way across for row number 7. I'm coming up to the end of row number 7 and I'm just filling in the spaces. I've noticed that there is a mistake in the diagram on round number 8, which I'll cover in just a moment. So I'm just filling in the spaces as I know it. So this is the last space to be filled in, 3 double crochets, and then you're just going to double crochet in the top of the last stitch there, and done. So let's get rid of this. Let's go to the diagram. I'm gonna show you where I think an error is based on the written instruction. They don't match with each other, so I'm just gonna show that to you and we're gonna get off to a good start. So row number 8 is next. Let's go back to the beginning. So back on the diagram we've just done number 7. So number 8 we're gonna start off in the beginning and you're just gonna chain 3, put your double crochets in, and I want you to count the number of these. So there's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's what it says in the instructions. Then a cluster. Then you have to put another 4 in a row. So go 1, 2, 3 and 4. This one here should be a cluster like you see here. So that I'm just gonna put CL. So that's in order to keep it in balance. The reason why I believe that, this one here has 5, this one goes to 4, and then the next time you see this again it's in 3s. See that? So I believe that's where the error is, and we will address that now. And for those that don't hear this video, you might want to mention it on social media if people complain that row number 8 is not matching the instruction. So without further ado, let's go to number 8. Let's begin row number 8. You notice that we're getting quicker, and we're just gonna go in the top of the first chain 3 that you did before and slip stitch it to join, and then chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and in the space put in 2 more double crochet. So there is your balance. So what I want you to do, the next 4 are gonna be by themselves, so just continue 3 groups of double crochet. So 1, okay, and then 2, 3, and 4. Just like that. Now the next 2 are gonna become the cluster. So chain 1 first, then jump to the next one and do the next one, and you'll have 5 loops left on the hook, and then chain 1 to finish. So the next 4 in a row will each be these double crochets and then another cluster, and you're gonna do that all the way across for row number 8. So I'm just finishing up row number 8. I keep thinking it's round because it's a skirt and it goes around a tree. So there's my last cluster there. So the remaining all the way to the end will just be 3 double crochet in each of the spaces. Okay, and in the last one of the group of 8, so this is the last space here, so you're gonna go right in there. And then that's it. So get rid of this yarn and let's go to number 9 and begin all the way again, and let's do number 9. Back on the chart, number 9, we're gonna start up again, chain 3 of the other chain 3 that's there, and we are going to then just put in double crochets in each one of the spaces in between. So there's no decreasing on this one. This is number 9. Start off with the slip knot and let's begin row number 9. coming in the top of the other chain 3 that exists already, slip stitch it to join, chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and then number 9, then we just jump to the next space that's available to you and put in your 3 double crochets. So each one of the spaces in between, just put in your 3 groups of double crochet all the way across, and I'll see you at the end of row number 9. So I'm coming up to the end of row number 9. Looking ahead, row number 10 is exactly what we just did, so there's no decreasing, it's just gonna relax out, and we're gonna do row number 10 next. We're just gonna go all the way to the end now. Row number 9. Okay, coming to the final space, put your 3 double crochet in, and then just double crochet to the top of the last double crochet that's there. Let's get rid of this yarn. Let's go back to the beginning, row number 10 once again. Row number 10, we're just gonna check off we did number 9, and number 10 we're just gonna do things as we already see it. So it's just a matter of just filling in the spaces that are already there, and then we're not doing any decreasing for row number 10. So let's begin that next. Let's begin row number 10, starting off with a slip knot, and we're gonna come into the top of the first chain 3. There's no decreasing on this round, so just slip stitch it, chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and in the same space right below just put in 2 more double crochet. So there you got your 3, and then just simply all the way across 3 double crochets in each one of the spacing all the way. I'll see you at the end of this. This is row number 10. And coming up to the end of row number 10, and I just put in my 3 double crochets in each space across, and then you just gotta think about how you're gonna finish it. It shows it on the diagram too if you haven't already clued that in, and you're just gonna go into the final space. It's the between the double crochet and the final 3 double crochet group, and you're gonna put in your 3 double crochets there. That's it for this color. This is row number 10. Let's get rid of this. Let's go to number 11. We're getting closer to the end. So I'm back on the chart. We just completed number 10. And what I want to do then, I'm just gonna draw an arrow because it's getting further apart so I can see it. And what I want to do is that I want to make sure that I am starting 11 right. So we're gonna chain up 3. We're gonna put the first 2 groups together, and then it's 1 2 3, and then the next 2 are together with the cluster, and then it's 1 2 3. So do you see how I did that before? It was 4, so now it's 3. So it's 1 2 and 3. Please do that for round number 11. Let's begin. Let's start up row number 11. I keep saying round. I do apologize. I know somebody's gonna make a comment about that. It's in my head. It's in my head that this is a circle because it goes around a tree. So we're just gonna join it, and we're going to chain 3, 1 2 and 3, and then we're gonna put the first 2 spaces together. So put wrap and put those together as a cluster with the next one. Okay, you got your 5 loops, pull through all 5 and then chain 1. So what we have here is that the next 3 in a row are each 3 double crochet. So 1 2 and 3, and then this is the second group. This is the third group, and then the next ones are together. So chain up for 1 first, and then the next 2 spaces are going to be the clustered 2 together. So please do that same idea going all the way around, across, chain 1 after. So it's 3 by themselves, 3 groups of double crochet, and then clusters. Please do that across for number 11. I'm coming up to the end of row number 11, just filling in all the spaces that I need. I came out of the cluster, which was my last one, and I'm just filling in the space. Interestingly enough, as per the diagram, I ended up with an extra space. I'm not too worried about it. It could be an error in the diagram, or it could be me. But either way, I am not frogging anything at this point. So once I get my last item in there, I'm just going to just double crochet to the top. I think I'm not wrong. I can be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I'm going to stick with what I know and what I think is accurate. So this kind of makes sense because there's 3 double crochets that kind of finish that off, right? Okay, so let's move along to row number 12. Let's get rid of this yarn and start number 12. So let's begin row number 12, and I'm just gonna check off 11. We are just going to just put in these 3 double crochets into each space. So we're gonna just come up onto the top. We're gonna go into the top of this space here, and then just in each space all the way around. Number 12, it's kind of easy. So let's get going and let's get started. So let's begin row number 12, slip knot. Let's come into the top here of section of the 3rd one and join it. You're going to chain 3, counts as a double crochet, and in the same space I want you to place in 2 more double crochets. So go right into a space, don't go into the top of the cluster. It looks like that in the diagram. I just think it's a visual thing. I don't think it's meant for you to do that. Okay, so let's begin. We're gonna come to the other side of the cluster, and you're gonna start putting in your 3 double crochets in each of the spaces across. Okay, so even if you hit a cluster, you're just gonna go on either side of it, right? So there and there, and just put in 3 double crochets in each space. So go in each space. This is row number 12. I'm coming up to the end of row number 12. Only 2 more rows to go. I bet you're happy about that. I know I am, for sure. I'm ready to move on to something else. So I'm just filling in the spaces, 3 double crochets in each, and then just come into the final one between the last double crochet and the last grouping of 3 and place in 3 double crochets. So that's it for that row. You're gonna finish that off. So let's get rid of that yarn. Let's go back to the beginning and go to row number 13. You'll like row 13 too. That's a no-brainer. So let's go to row 13. We're gonna start off in the front and on the top of the chain 3, put another chain 3, and then just go into each space with 3 double crochets in each. Okay, 1 more row after this. Let's go on for row number 13. Let's begin row number 13. Create a slip knot to begin. You're gonna come in the top of the first chain 3 that you started with, and then just slip it to join. Chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Just come to the next chain space, or to the next space, put in your 3 double crochets. So I want 3 double crochet in each one of the spaces all the way across for row number 13. So please do that now. I'll see you at the end of the row. So let's get all the way to the end of row number 13. Am I sounding tired? I've been in this chair all afternoon doing this project. Actually, I like this project. I'm really excited. I named this as my favorite tree skirt years ago, and I just never found the time to actually do one. So I'm pretty excited to be honest with you, even though I don't sound like it. Okay, so you're gonna put 3 double crochet in the last space that you have, and then reach over to the top of the last double crochet and put 1 in. So we're now gonna move on to round number 14. This is it, my friends. This is gonna be the final of the interior, and then we're gonna move on to the border next. So let's get rid of this and move on to 14. So row 14 is very similar to what we did in number 11. So there's gonna be 1, 2, 3, and then cluster of the 2, and then 1, 2, 3 cluster. We're gonna do that then for all the way for number 14. This is it for the interior. Let's begin row number 14, round row project. Okay, so let's come in the top of chain 3, just join it, and chain 3 to start. That's your first double crochet. Come into the space right below it and just put in 2 more double crochets, and therefore you got your 3. Okay, so the next 3 in a row will each be by themselves, so let's do that. So I have 1, okay, and then the next one, this is 2, and finally 3, and then the next 2 are gonna become to cluster. So chain up 1 and put the 2 of those together. You already kinda know what you're doing at this point, I hope. Pull through all 5 loops, chain 1, and then the next 3 are by themselves, and then cluster. Please do that all the way finally for round number 14. So I'm coming up to the end of 14, and I'm just putting in my last cluster there, and I'm filling in the remaining spaces with 3 double crochet. Like before, I have an extra space that I didn't. It's probably because I did something somewhere. I'm not gonna worry about it. I don't want you to worry about it if you have that as well. At this point you just want to get it done and get on with your Christmas, right? So just filling in the space and then coming into the last one right here. So what we're going to do is we'll move on to the border, and in the border I'm gonna have an exception for you at the top end of when we were doing the granny squares way back when in video number 1. So let's get rid of this and let's start on our border, and it's gonna go completely around this whole thing. Okay, let's begin to do our border. It's a complete once around. So what's gonna happen is that we're gonna start off in the middle and we're gonna put 1 single crochet in each. It doesn't matter which way you follow it really, and just come around. Actually it does. Stay on the right side of it, and we're gonna come around, and then when you come down these edges you just gotta evenly space your single crochets. So I'll just quickly get you started. I'll see you back here just to make sure you're spreading yourself out, and then I wanna show you the difference that's done on the tops here that I did to make sure that it sits down nice and flat. So let's grab a yarn and let's start our final border. Okay, so I'm gonna start my final border, and I'm starting right where I've been starting all this rest of this area down here. Okay, so I might as well keep it consistent, right? And I'm starting and I'm looking at the good side of the project, the right side. You're just gonna come in, and in the corners what I want you to place is 3 single crochets anytime you turn a corner. This is an exception to the top of where it starts to do the nice looking petals. So just chaining up 1 and then single crochet 3 times. That'll allow you to turn the corner, and when you come back all the way around you're gonna eventually come back along this edge that you see. So just gonna put in 1 single crochet in each, going all the way to the other side, and then I will see you there and making sure that you understand on spreading your stitches nice and evenly up the sides where there is no rows. Let's meet you there in just a moment. To be completely transparent with you, as you hit these clusters just go right into a space. It's almost virtually impossible to be able to separate those out from because it's tight. So just put 1 in the top of the cluster and 1 on each side of the space and continue to move around. That's what I would do for those particular spaces. So I've now almost finished the entire interior perimeter, and now I'm about to turn the corner to do the up the side. Now when you turn the side you are still gonna have all these double crochets. Let me just zoom out just to give you a better perspective of where I am. So I'm just coming along, and before I turn the corner, or at the corner, I want to put in 3 double crochets so I can safely turn. So 1, 2 and 3, and notice that I have not trimmed my ends yet. I'm going to do that later. I'm gonna just bury them as I go. So I'm just gonna equally space these stitches. Don't go into a space, go into like the sides of a post and just equally space it down. There's no counting involved. It's just eyeing it up and making sure that you go in. I'd recommend that you get at least 2 strands. You can get underneath 2 strands as you go, and then continue to bury in these stragglers as you go too, and therefore you don't probably have to worry about them too much. So what's gonna happen is that you're just gonna equally space until you get to this, and then once you get here you're just gonna follow this around, and where I'm gonna have you change the pattern is right in the first corner, and then it's gonna change all the outside all the way around to the other side. So equally space your double or your single crochets down the sides of this area. So I'm continually equally spacing. Look how much stuff I'm covering up on the outside. It's actually working out to my favor. I'm not even gonna argue with that. If you can save sewing in things, it's awesome. And look, I just have one that ended early, but you can just tug on them. It will tighten everything back up. Kinda neat. It's kinda lazy, but it's kind of, you know, what we crocheters do. If you can avoid extra steps, why would you put yourself through that? So then you're just gonna pick up on the outside of the granny square. I would let these stragglers fall because of the colors now are not gonna match, and you're just going to match each one of the stitches that you have up until you get to the first corner. Okay, so this is a chain 1 space if you remember. So you just fill those in with the your single crochets and continue to do that to the first corner. I'll see you there. Okay, I'm coming up near to the corner. So as I was working through this, I noticed that my edges were not sitting flat during the prototype area. So what I had is that I decided that I would change the corner in these. So what's gonna happen is that we're gonna come across and then back down and then across, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So as we hit the corners, I want you to change the pattern slightly from this all the way around, and so we're gonna come across and then back down and then just pick up the next one and then continue around so it creates the look. So in the corners I want you to put 4 single crochets. So 2, this is 3 and 4. In the tops of these other stitches I want you to push in 1 single crochet each, and the exception where I changed it is right here. This is a chain 1 space. To get it to sit down flat, I'd recommend putting in 2 single crochets and then move on. So then 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, and then in the next chain 1 space put in 2 single crochets. And you're gonna do that across the tops of your motifs that you're going to hit. And this allows it to expand quite nicely and then to sit flat on your floor, especially with using Caron 1 pound. And of course if you have a better way, by all means. I would have actually, I'm kind of over this project at this time, but I would consider, if I had more time, probably just changing this last one to be maybe a half double crochet or a double crochet, but that's completely up to you if you want to do that. So in the next chain 1 space there's 2. So I'm trying to get you just to where it dips down just to show you how to do that. It goes pretty quickly once you understand. So just 1 in each, and then 2 into these chain 1 spaces. I decided to use green as my finale, so I wanted to not use it when I was getting close to doing the interior so that I didn't have 2 greens too close to each other. Okay, so we're hitting the next corner. So in the corner, like before, I want you to put in 4 single crochets and then move down just to the 3 only. Okay, then I want you to put 1 right where it's joining and then move back up to the next one, so the next 3 in the next one. So 1, 2, 3. So that's how I want you to handle where they're separating, like that. And then in the corner again 4 single crochets and then 1 in each to the stitches and then 2 into there. So what I want you to do is use that same idea and go all the way around. I'm now going to leave the rest of this tutorial for you, and when I come back I'll just show you some photography of my sample completely done. So I kinda lied. Here's the very end. I figured I better show you, and I've just come all the way around. Didn't take me too long. I did a test trial before I filmed this to see how long it would take me to get around, so I'm actually pretty happy with it. So that's it. You're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet, and what I highly recommend, because this is gonna be underneath the tree, you want to go back through your work and put in your loose ends. So just pull that through. So any loose ends that you don't think you have control of, then what I would do is just put it into a tapestry needle and just glide it back and forth 3 times. So just kind of turn it over to the back side. You can see I got tails to take care of. So here's my thought process, is that I have not laid this down yet. So if it's not lying down properly, I'd strongly recommend that you wet block it. So just dampen it off a little bit and then just lay it flat to dry. If it's not sitting flat, you can also, I use a steamer, so then I just lay it flat and then I steam over top of it. Do not iron this yarn because it's acrylic and you will melt it. So this is kind of a neat way to be able to do this. So I'm actually pretty excited about it. Now you can apply buttons to it, but I'm too lazy to do that. So, and honestly once you put down your presents anyway, it's not gonna go anywhere. And that's just something that you can decide for yourself. So take care of any loose ends that you may have, and I will still take photography, and I'll be back to show you that before we let you go today.
Took some time but we pointed out that tomorrow isn't here right now, baby. An absent mind came to roam around, captured you in a foggy cloud, baby.